Hey everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm sorry it's been a long time. I know it's been about 4 or 5 years, but a lot's happened in that time. I've gotten married, had kids, and moved out of home and everything. But I've always wanted to come back to the channel and kind of get it back up and running. And I've really taken an interest in these tier list videos that everybody seems to be making lately. So I thought I'd give a go at it and try it myself. And I've seen a lot of movies from a lot of directors, so I thought I'd try tier lists from directors and things like that. So today I'm going to obviously by the title get started and do Bong Joon-ho's films. I'm only on this trial thing at the moment, so I think I can only record for 10 minutes at a time. So we'll see how we go. That's why I chose someone with a smaller filmography for this list. But yeah, we'll see how we go, and hopefully it works out all right, and hopefully I can keep making these kind of videos for you guys in the future because there's certainly a lot of content to go through. So Bong Joon-ho is probably one of the most famous South Korean directors nowadays, especially due to films like Parasite and Snowpiercer, where he's like really gotten his name out there with the Academy Awards and more American mainstream audiences and things like that. But he has a lot of great Korean films as well that are kind of like unseen. So I thought I'd just go through his filmography, which is only 7 films plus a anthology film, which I included here as well, this Tokyo film. And yeah, we'll put them in the tier list and rank them and see where they sit. So it's in no particular order, just randomized. But anyway, we'll start off with Barking Dogs Never Bite, which is actually his first feature film from back in 2000. So I'm probably going to chuck it in the C tier, I reckon, because it was a pretty good movie, especially for a first film. It's kind of like a dark comedy. And a lot of Korean comedies are very different from your typical, Hollywoodized comedy. The stuff they kind of get away with and talk about, you wouldn't really get in mainstream films. And it's actually quite a funny movie, and kind of shows his talent right out of the gate. But then again, it's in C tier, so it doesn't really have a lot of the qualities that he'd come to be known for in his later films. But it's definitely a good place to start. I think if you haven't seen it and you're a fan of his other films, it's definitely a good one to check out. But for me, it's kind of like middle of the range C tier. It's one of his lesser known films. But to be honest, he hasn't really made a bad movie, so it's a pretty good one to go and start with if you haven't seen it before, or if you've seen his other films. Um, the next one we have is Okja or Okja. I'm not really sure how you're supposed to pronounce it, but this is a pretty unique film and it came out on Netflix in 2017. And I actually really like this movie. It's really fun and really original, and it kind of blends a lot of genres together. It's comedy, it's adventure, drama. You've got a bit of action and thriller even in there. It kind of really just doesn't have a boundary, and that's what I like about this movie. It's quite original and unique. It's got really good performances. You've got kind of like a half American cast as well as a Korean cast, so it's kind of a bit of a globe-trotting film as well. You get some stuff in Korea as well as America, so that's pretty cool. And it works really well also. It doesn't really feel jarring. So it's a really fun film. I don't think it's quite an S tier, but it's definitely an A tier because it's yeah, what they were able to do even visually in this movie is pretty amazing, just with like the Mega Pig or whatever it's called, whatever Okja is. But yeah, it's a good film and I'd highly recommend it, especially if you have Netflix, and most people seem to nowadays. So you can check that one out. It's definitely worth a watch. Um, Next up, we have Parasite. So this is the film that he's really kind of known for nowadays because it won the Best Picture award back in 2019 at the Academy Awards, which hasn't really been done, I don't think, before by a foreign director. So that's pretty amazing. And I remember seeing this film from the first time, just being like blown away by it. It's definitely not overrated. I think it's like deserving of where it seems to be sitting at the moment. And I'm yeah definitely going to be an S tier film for me because it's just so kind of original and unique. Like there's nothing really like it, especially the twists and that come halfway through the film. They're really unexpected and take the film in a pretty cool direction, I reckon. So if you haven't seen it, like check it out. I know it's Korean, so it's subtitled and everything like that, but if you can get around subtitles and things, you really can be open up to a whole new kind of world of films that are really unique and different from what you're used to seeing probably. So I'd highly recommend that one. Next up, we've got Tokyo. So this is actually an anthology film that three directors worked on. So I won't talk about this one too long. It's just, Bong Joon-ho did one of the segments. He did the third one, and it was okay. Like the film as a whole was just okay. Um, I wouldn't really recommend it unless you've seen all his other films and you're kind of like, want to watch his whole filmography. Because I would say that his short is probably the best of the three in the film. But overall, I'd probably only say it's a D tier kind of film overall. But it is worth watching, I think, because there is some interesting stuff in it. Granted, I've only seen it once a few years ago, so I don't really remember that much about it. Um, The Host is a pretty unique monster film from Korea. It's a lot of fun. I'd probably put it around the same area as Okja because it's just, yeah, it kind of just takes this creature and does some interesting stuff with it in this family as well. And it's also quite a funny film as well as being, um, like a monster movie. It's about this family and their family dynamic as well, and how they kind of cope with, this situation where there's this crazy monster running around that's come out of the river and all that. And I think some of the visual effects don't hold up as well nowadays, but for the most part, the film's actually pretty decent and quite an enjoyable movie. Next up, we have Snowpiercer. So this is, I think, the first film I saw. Yeah, this is the first one I saw from the director because it's probably one of his most mainstream films, being a more American cast. You got Chris Evans, Captain America, as the leading role in the film, and it's another unique, fun science fiction action film. Um, I think they've spawned a TV series out of it recently as well, so that's pretty cool. I haven't seen that though. But the movie, just as a single film, actually works really well, and it's definitely A tier. I don't think I can quite put it up in the S tier because it's not quite on the level of Parasite, but it's definitely high A tier. Like these S and A tier films are pretty close, in my opinion. Um, so I definitely recommend Snowpiercer because it's a pretty violent and original film with some great sequences. Pretty much just about this group of people trying to get from the back end of the train to the front and just figure out what's going on. And yeah, it's quite a fun ride to be on and watch. So next up we have Mother, and this is another one of his Korean language films. Came out in 2009. Um, I reckon I'm going to put it in B. I don't think it's quite as good as these films. It's definitely better than these two though. It's kind of just a straightforward thriller. I've only seen it once a few years ago and I did like it. I was hoping to enjoy it more than I did, but I think, B tier is still pretty good. And it is decent and worth watching. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out because there's some pretty shocking stuff in it and it works quite well just as a standalone thriller. Um, yeah, I don't think it quite has the unique or creative edges that these films up here have, but it's regardless, like on any other director's filmography, it would probably be higher, possibly but up in the A tier or something like that. Um, but yeah, B is pretty good for it, I think. So coming in last, the last movie we have on this list is Memories of Murder from 2003, and this is straight up in the S tier. This is a fantastic movie. I'd probably say it's equal to Parasite, maybe. Yeah, it depends what day it is, really, because they're both pretty much even. They're both fantastic movies. They're probably the two best films that I've seen to come out of South Korea. And really to establish this director as the best South Korean director, I think these two films make a good argument for that. It's just kind of like it's a true story about a serial killer. Um, in Korea, it's a very dark film. It's very intense. It's very scary and it just works so well. It kind of like gives you vibes of Zodiac, like David Fincher's Zodiac and films like that. So if you like that movie, I think you'll definitely like Memories of Murder. So definitely check it out. Um, yeah, so that's the list, guys. Parasite, Memories of Murder. Highly recommend those two. Highly recommend the A tier, B tier one as well. And if you've seen them, check out the C and D movies. Um, So that's his filmography for now. I know he's got a few more films coming out in the future. But yeah, stick around on my channel hopefully, and I will have some more videos out soon. More tier lists. If I can boost the length to be on 10-minute recordings, that would be great too. So I'm going to have to cut it off now because it's about to end. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.